Welcome back, everybody. It's Ed Martin. It's the Eagle Countdown. And, of course, this time it would be our 49th annual Eagle Council right now. And we delayed that until January because of all the craziness. But we're still doing the Eagle Countdown. John Schlafly is back next to me. John Schlafly is Phyllis Schlafly's oldest son, of course. He still writes the Phyllis Schlafly Report, the weekly column. He does a lot of work with the organization. In fact, later he'll mention we just filed a brief, our organization up in Pennsylvania, supporting the judge, a federal judge, on one of the election fraud cases. We'll talk about it later. But right now, I'm really honored and pleased. We're here in the D.C. office of Phyllis Schlafly Eagles. Phyllis Schlafly, in her long career in office, she had a friendship and an admiration for Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa. She recognized him as someone who had the same values she did and pursued so many of the same things she did, and she just enjoyed him. And we were getting ready at Eagle Council to honor him in a particular way with an award we call the Legal Eagle Award. And I think it's good for an Iowa farm boy, not a lawyer, to get a Legal Eagle Award. But because we wanted to make sure to recognize his service on the Judiciary Committee, in getting ready to talk to him today, and he's here with us, I was looking at our bio and stuff, and he holds a record. I don't know if it's a Guinness Book of World's Record yet. We should find out. Mike Davis should find that out. Is the longest consecutive voting streak in U.S. Senate history. Haven't missed a vote since 1993.
It's not a McGuinness record.
It's not?
It's the record of all the 1,970 senators that
right.
have served since 1789. And I beat the record that Bill Proxmire had prior to that when he left the Senate, 1988.
Wow. I mean, wasn't that, we're talking right now outside of our offices, people yelling about the vote at McConnell. Wasn't McConnell, I think McConnell won his race in the 80s. Remember, he had a colleague of yours, a Democrat, who kept skipping votes, right? Wasn't that what they had? And he had the hound dog running around chasing the dummy, the thing. It was a famous, right?
You've got real good memory.
I just saw it after the fact. So they couldn't do that to Grassley. Then, of course, the full Grassley is this famous thing where you go to every county. Is it every year or every 2 years?
I have a Q&A in every county of the 99 of Iowa every year for 40 years in a row, and there's only been one of those meetings where I haven't had at least one person show up to ask me a question.
Oh, one meeting you had and no one came? Was it like a snowstorm or what?
So that would be multiply 40 times 99 counties, and it comes out something like 3,900 and something.
Wow.
And it's a way to keep in touch with people.
Yeah.
You know, representative government's a two-way street. If you're going to have representative government, you got to have dialogue between those that we serve and the ones that are elected, like me. See. So,
Senator Grassley, you had extraordinary chairmanship on the Senate Judiciary Committee. That's what we wanted to honor you about because your service. But you started out in this. You didn't think to yourself, I want to be on Judiciary Committee. You're a farmer. You thought, I want to make sure government works for me. How big was that chairmanship? How central was it? I mean, you did, I think it's over 85 judges, 2 Supreme Court judges. I mean, it was a key moment, and you were in charge.
When you're selecting people or helping people get confirmed to judgeships, you aren't only looking ahead 2 or 3 years. You're looking ahead 30 years and 40 years in some instances. That's the difference that job makes, getting people confirmed to lifetime appointments to the federal judiciary.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, we gave Senator Grassley, his is in his office, but this is what it looks like. Our famous Eagle Award, Phyllis Schlafly, for her decades and decades, we give awards to people that were doing the work. I think he got this 2 years ago, maybe longer. And the tagline on it is, with appreciation for your dedicated work for God, family, and country. And that's what Phyllis would always sign. So I know we're not going to talk about the current Supreme Court situation. We're going to let Mike Davis say what he'll make the news here. But I want to ask you about the current state of sort of politics. We were talking before we got on the air, or maybe not politics, but the intensity of the division. Everyone likes to say we're divided. You've been up here a long time on Capitol Hill. Is it worse now? Is it better now? Is it the media's fault? Is it Trump's fault? How do you describe what we're feeling?
Yeah, it's worse, but it's not a whole lot different than people would expect you to do representing your constituency. So if you look at a map of the 2016 election, and you see the interior of the United States all red and the coastlines blue, you can understand the country's divided. So if you believe in the principle of representative government, wouldn't you expect the people that represent those people to reflect that view in the Congress of the United States?
Yes, but the media is crazier than ever, right? I mean, in a way, someone asked me on a radio today, they said, Justice Scalia was great friends with Ginsburg. Well, I bet you that Chuck Grassley's friends with Democrats too, right? That's not that uncommon. What's uncommon now is that they took Kavanaugh to a level that was unbelievable, right? I mean, the destruction and the media does it in such a way that 20% of the country will never forget Kavanaugh as a terrible person.
The last 20 years, what you said has just been the trend.
Yeah.
Prior to that, there was never a vote on confirmation or a vote on filibusters of judges. Now, somebody's going to say, well, yeah, Fortas in 1969 or something like that.
Right.
But he didn't even have enough votes to get approved.
Right.
So until the Democrats decided in the first George W. Bush term to make it political, it was never political. Because you can understand, Clarence Thomas never would be on the court. He was approved 52 to 48. So if you had to have a filibuster to keep him off, he would have never been on.
Wow, yeah.
So just think how things have changed between Clarence Thomas's approval and the way they are now since George W. Bush. Because for the first time, Democrats said politics can enter into who's going to be on the Supreme Court.
Yeah, we're visiting with Senator Chuck Grassley from Iowa. He got the Legal Eagle Award. Now, I know enough to know senators. They get all kinds of prizes and all, but this is a letter opener, and it was a letter opener with an eagle on it that Phyllis always kept one on her desk that she opened up. And we found about a half a dozen of these that were wrapped up. So we made this the Legal Eagle Award. I figure you can also use it on the farm if you need to stab somebody or stab one of Mike Davis. But thank you for everything you're doing for us. But I want to ask you about this. When you were a young senator and you had all those tough issues, the Cold War's going on, Reagan's going on, all these things, you could still go through an airport and nobody'd know you. After Kavanaugh, everybody knows Chuck Grassley too, right? I mean, and
except when I wear a mask.
Well, that maybe you like the masks now. That's right. Certain people like the masks. I look too good. I don't like to cover up. So that I blame the media for that. Do you blame the media? You don't blame anybody. You're not angry. You never get. You don't seem to get angry the same way normal. But it kind of rolls off your back.
The media is not journalism today. They're political activists in their own way.
Yeah.
Maybe Fox News one way, MSNBC another way. They aren't reporting the news. They're reporting what they want to make the news.
Well, and get people excited, get people agitated.
Yeah.
John, do you have any deep thoughts? John Schlapp, he's an attorney, so he's suspect. He's in a suspect class too. John?
Well, Senator Grassley, you set the standard for judicial confirmations last year with Kavanaugh, and of course, when you're the chairman of a committee, you have to deal respectfully with the opposing party, which is not easy when on the other side of the dais is people like Kamala Harris and Mazie Hirono and people like that. But it was a model of what you did, and you've handed off that gavel to Lindsey Graham, and Lindsey has a tough one that he's facing now in the next couple of weeks, and I hope you can impart your wisdom to him as he takes care of the next Supreme Court nomination. And thank you for what you did last year.
Well, I'm glad to do it. Thank you very much.
The reports are, if everything holds in majorities, you'll go back on judiciary, right?
Yes.
Is that true? So you will go back on judiciary next year. Let's go back to the Judiciary Committee, because we gave you this for being a legal eagle. I couldn't give you a law license, for it, but maybe they could do something. Maybe somebody could take care of that. But on the Judiciary Committee, you were big on the First Step Act, and the First Step Act was something that the president wanted. His team wanted. I don't know that it gets them out. One of the things we're talking about on this Eagle Countdown is, what were the promises kept? President Trump ran for office. He said, we're going to do things differently. We're going to stand up for folks. I remember he pardoned some people, and you went, oh, yeah, I see he's got the courage to pardon some people most people wouldn't touch until a second term or ever. What's the First Step Act mean to you?
It means that people that probably got unfair treatment for the crime they committed compared to others was not fair, But it's Congress's fault because in the 1990s we passed a very tough on crime law.
Right.
And at the time I voted for it. You thought it was the right thing to do. And it did cut down on crime tremendously. But what it ended up doing was, after 20 years, you find out some of the things that maybe you were not fair to some people. So it doesn't open the prison doors and let anybody out. It only gives these people an opportunity to go back before the same judge and plead that maybe their sentence was a little bit unfair compared to compared to any case they can make. And then they could get it shortened, and then maybe on a shortened sentence get out.
This is where I think that people don't understand Donald Trump, the uniqueness, because Chuck Grassley would be identified as a rock rib conservative on this issue.
Yeah.
And Trump comes in and says, let's do this. And you come along, and a bunch of people come along on all sides, and it happens. If it was 25 years ago, there'd be articles about how incredibly bipartisan and how important it was. Instead, it's kind of forgotten, and we attack Trump's tweets.
Because people, the press hates Trump. They ain't going to give him credit for anything. But this is a miracle he did by putting together, let's just say, the ACLU on the left and the Koch brothers on the right, and everything in between.
Right.
And maybe even some to the extreme of those two came together as a coalition, and he put that coalition together. He doesn't get any credit for it.
Yeah.
But he wanted to be fair to people that were mistreated and really had unequal justice, to give them justice.
Right. John, you have follow-up?
Well, you referred to President Trump's tweets. Now, Senator Grassley has been very adept on Twitter since before Donald Trump became president. And
but what's the deal with the deer? What was the deal with the deer? Have you heard this one? Can you tell us that?
We had a deer, and I wanted my staff to know I was okay. And you normally want to see where a deer is, and I couldn't find the deer at night, so I said, "Assume dead."
That was a tweet. Well, go ahead, Mike, John. So,
Twitter is a new medium, and it's Senator Grassley was an early adopter of that new medium.
2008.
2008. Wow, that's before a lot of us ever heard of it. But I wonder if you have any comments about Twitter as a means of communication and how you compare yourself to the president, perhaps.
Well, I've got 500,000 followers, and he's got 80 million followers. So that's not much of a comparison. But I don't know why he uses it, but the reason I use it is to a lot of times just to give some news, but also try to encourage discussion. And you get a lot of discussion, and you get a lot of people that don't like you that respond most of the time.
Do you do your own tweeting?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
100% of the time?
When I got somebody around that can type faster than I do, I tell them what to
type.
But Senator, of course, President Trump has had several of his tweets to be censored by Twitter, which is a disgrace. It should not be allowed to happen. But have you ever had any of your tweets?
I don't think so. Nobody's called it to my attention.
What about the power of those big tech companies? And I'll say it differently. One of the themes of Eagle Countdown, our people, our Eagles feel we're on the brink of an election, of a lot of chaos. We've got election fraud, mail-in fraud we're worried about. We've got big tech with their thumb on the scale, it feels like sometimes.
Against a conservative cause.
Yes. So what do we do with Twitter and those guys?
Right now, I see that there's a bipartisan group of people think just leave it alone, and then there's a bipartisan group of people that think there ought to be some restrictions put on, and in some cases more freedom, in some cases less. And I don't think there's a consensus yet to get anything done. Between now and the election?
Yeah. Would that be a Judiciary Committee thing, you think, next time?
A little bit, and a little bit in the Commerce Committee.
Yeah. John, follow up on that?
Well, it's, the power of the big tech industry is a concern, and Congress hasn't really done anything about it. The need, I think, is great for Congress to take action. I realize it's very controversial within both parties. And part of that, I think, is because the tech industry has been spreading a lot of money around in Washington.
Yeah.
is now we've got 42 days to the election. You've seen a few elections in your time. How's this one going? Where are we in this election?
Well, first of all, you ought to understand with this vacancy on the Supreme Court that there's no better role than the people in the Eagle Forum can play. And way beyond their own membership, use every influence you can to get this vote out. And we need not just Trump to win, but we need a landslide.
Right.
Because the reason we need a landslide is you don't know how these mail-in ballots are going to be handled.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've been very concerned about mail-in ballots, and also I wanted to ask you, Senator, about the so-called pivot counties. And your state of Iowa had quite a number of them.
23 of them.
23 that voted for Obama twice,
Yeah.
and then flipped and supported President. 23 out of the 99 counties. Now, with you're on the ground in all 99 of those counties, Senator. How are they looking today, if you know?
I think they're looking like he's going to carry him, but not by the 9% margin he had. But between now and the next 42 days, people that are of the conservative frame of mind, or people that like a president who delivers on his promises, and that's not better shown than with the two people he put on the Supreme Court that he intends to deliver, and the speed with which he's moving so far on this nomination. That we got to get people that appreciate just the conservative cause, but also appreciate a president that delivers on what he said he was going to do. That's what's important, and your organization can play a big part in that.
Well, listen, Senator Grassley, I want to say thank you. We were expecting to have him at our Eagle Council with lots of our folks who love you and support what you do. Phyllis had such affection and appreciation for you. Thank you for coming by to be with us here. And the Legal Eagle, you can tell any of the lawyers on the Judiciary Committee. You got Phyllis. Phyllis is in heaven. She'll deliver any help you need. But thank you, and good luck down the stretch here. And we're going to take a quick break again and do another commentary, one of the promises kept from another one of our members of Congress, and we'll swap out a guy who actually was a Grassley staffer. So Mike Davis, he'll give us some scoop on this. So thank you, Senator, very much. All right, thanks.